As some of you might know, I've been looking into switching to a mirrorless camera system for quite a while now. And while I've looked into going over to Sony, it's also quite a big leap because I own a lot of Canon equipment already. So when Canon released the Canon R5 and R6, I was certainly interested. So a friend of ours who owns the bruiloft was kind enough to lend me his Canon R5 and R6 for a week. And I've been testing them out around the house, mostly shooting some pictures of my kids. So this won't be really an in-depth review, but more, well, my thoughts on deciding which camera will be best for us. I won't really go into video in this review because I hardly shoot any video at all. I just record these YouTube videos. But I do know some things about photography. And well, the first thing I want to say about the difference between these cameras is that I find it quite hard to decide between the two because they are very similar, but the price difference is quite big, about $1,400. And the Canon R5 uses more expensive memory cards. And the files are a lot bigger, so it will take up more storage. They both have a very good autofocus system, which has eye tracking and face tracking, and it's really good, but the same on both cameras. They both have a flippy screen, which goes out all the way, which is nice. The Canon R5 has a higher resolution screen and a higher resolution viewfinder, which is nice, but that also means that the Canon R5 uses more battery than the Canon R6. I haven't really been able to test out how much more, but that's what I read online and heard from colleagues. The Canon R6 has a viewfinder which has a lower refresh rate, which you don't really notice when you're shooting outdoors. But when you're shooting indoors under artificial light, then you notice a sort of flicker, which isn't too annoying when you're using it for short periods of time. But when you're shooting for hours and hours at a time, then it might get annoying. The bodies of the cameras are very similar. The Canon R5 does have a magnesium alloy inside, which is supposed to be stronger, and it has a small screen over here where you can view your settings, but I must say I hardly ever use it because you're using the viewfinder and the screen all the time, where you can just as well see your settings. I have edited some pictures of these cameras to see about the noise levels they both produce at higher ISOs, and they're about the same. I would have no problem shooting at up to 6400. I felt, this is not really a scientific test but more an observation, that the Canon R6 noise levels were a little bit better, but might be a third or half a stop. And then we get to the biggest difference of the two cameras, and that's the resolution. The Canon R6 has, I believe, 20 megapixels and the Canon R5 has 45, which is a really big difference. The question is, do I need the extra megapixels? For most use cases, 20 megapixels is enough, but if you crop a lot, then 20 might not be enough. If you make a lot of big prints, then 20 might also not be enough. So you might be interested, what did you decide on? Well, first you must know we shoot mostly weddings and we have two cameras on us at all times. One with a wide angle lens and one with a telephoto lens, like an 85 or a 70 to 100. And what I've noticed is that on my wide angle lens, because I don't shoot as neatly, I tend to crop a lot more than on my telephoto lens. So we decided that we would both get one R5 for our wide angle body and an R6 for the telephoto body. Because if we would get an R6 for the wide angle body and we would have to crop sometimes quite a lot, and we might end up with maybe a 10 megapixel file, that would be, well, not really enough when you're wanting to make full page spreads in a wedding album. So yeah, am I happy having to spend a lot more money on it? No, I wish the R6 would have had 30 megapixel, then it would be a much easier choice. Another benefit of having the R5s is that we sometimes shoot commercial work, and then it's certainly nice to have those extra megapixels. So when should you get the R5 and when should you get the R6? Well, if photography is just a hobby, a serious hobby, get the R6 because it's a really good camera and 95% as good as the R5. If you shoot a lot of commercial work, then get the R5 because you will need those extra megapixels. If you shoot a lot of indoors, like whole days indoors, I think you would go crazy on the viewfinder of the R6. So I would go for the R5. And if you're like me and you don't shoot as neatly and you need to crop a lot, then an R5 is also really nice to have. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope you find this useful, and till next time, bye!